There's a lot of double standards, by the way, and we need to point that out if we want to live, fully in this type of life. We need to point these double standards out. In any case, so our goal then should be to establish the Sharia within our personal lives. Question arises: what if our personal lives intersect with the public life, such as the laws of divorce, such as the laws of inheritance? Well, the inheritance we can keep in our hearts, but divorce is definitely a problem, where the Islamic methodology of divorce is radically different from the Western laws of divorce. Similarly, for child care, in the sense if there is a divorce, the custody of the child, Islam has its own laws, the West has its own laws. Similarly for so many other things. What can we do with this regard, in this scenario? You recall last year, a group of Canadian Muslims tried to establish Sharia courts. Maybe somebody remember this, or was it 2 years ago? A group of Canadian Muslims said we want to have personal family courts. Not courts that's going to chop the hands off no, we're not talking about punishments. We're talking about family courts, which means marriage and divorce and child custody, family disputes. And it was going to be completely voluntary. And it must be voluntary, by the way. If we're supposed to live in secular lands, you cannot force it down. By the way, as a footnote, it is not voluntary in India. In India, when the British left, they did something amazing, which is not done pretty much anywhere else in the world. When the British left in India, they set up different family laws depending on your religion. You are registered, your religion is registered. If you're born a Muslim, then as long as you profess Islam, you are going to be tried, at least in terms of marriage and divorce, you're going to be not tried, but you're going to go through an Islamic court. A judge, a qadi, is going to basically judge based on your Sharia. If you're a Christian, it's something else. If you're a Hindu, it's something else. They did this in India. That because they didn't claim it to be a fully, democratic and secular state, they have their own things to do. In any case, this can never happen in America. And I don't think people should clamor for that. It's not going to happen. It's just unrealistic. But what we can do is to allow it on a voluntary basis. If a man and woman fear Allah Azza wa Jal, both of them, and they love Allah, Islam, and the Sharia, and they say, I want to do this in accordance with the laws of Islam. Legally speaking, I'm telling you from a constitutional point of view, legally speaking, nobody has the right to interfere, because this is an arbitration now. It's an arbitration. The problem comes when one of the two parties says, no, I want to go to a court of law. Otherwise, if I have a dispute with you, any one of you, and we resolve it together, the government has nothing to do with that. If it's my money, my property, if we have children and want to just resolve it together, the government's not going to get involved unless I take the government, go to the government. We can take this to a higher level, and we can have Sharia courts that are going to be voluntary, where even a man and a man, if two men, not in terms of marriage, what are you guys thinking? In a financial relationship, it's going to get there, don't let your minds wander away. In a financial disagreement, okay, we draw up a document, a business, okay, and we have a dispute, and we're both practicing people, and we don't want to take this dispute. We should have the luxury, the opportunity to take it to an Islamic judge and say, Sheikh, this is the contract we drew. Of course, people do this on an informal level. I'm saying we have the full legal right to take it to a formal level, where there is a Sharia court, where people can go and arbitrarily decide their fate, if they both want to do so. Whether it's an economic issue, whether it's a marriage divorce issue. And you know one thing that is really, really ironic and troublesome? There is another group out there that already has this up and running, completely. And that group is, who knows? I'm talking about here in America. Which group of Yehud? The Orthodox or the Hasidic as well. But the Hasidic is one group of the Orthodox. The Orthodox Yehud, now of course the Yehud are divided into three main categories, right? The Orthodox, the Conservative, the Reform. There's also one more, the Reconstruction, that they're a minority. Three main categories, right? The Orthodox, the Conservative, the Reform. The first of these groups, by the way, was Reform Judaism. The first of them. When it came to America, in the 1850s, 1860s, these guys said, what are these backward laws and ridiculous, dietary things and dress codes? And let's just get rid of all of that. Everything. We're Jewish by culture, not by religion. Whether you believe in God or not, these are all cultural stuff. That's the most extreme, if you like, okay? As a reaction to the Reform, the second group that formed were the Orthodox. The Orthodox went to the exact opposite extreme. and they imported things that were not truly Jewish, such as, for example, the Polish noble tree used to dress in a certain way. The Hasidics started dressing like that. It's not the way that the ancient rabbis dressed. I can guarantee you the ancient rabbis didn't wear a hat and a black suit and tassels. That's not the way that the ancient rabbis dressed. This is Polish laws. Polish gentry used to dress like that. So when the Orthodox started, they imported their... I'm getting late, am I? Okay. Maghrib at 6:30, I have 5 minutes left. Okay. So they imported this as well. The Orthodox said, we're going to follow everything and even more so. And then the third group that came was the conservatives. And the conservatives said, we'll take a little bit of you guys, a little bit of you guys. Okay? We'll take what's convenient to take and we'll, leave what's convenient to leave. And so the conservatives are in the middle. The majority of Jews are Reformed and conservative. Over 80-90% of them. Minority are, even though I know in certain areas of New York you think they're the majority, they're not the majority. Okay? Maybe in that area they're the majority, but in the nation they're a very small minority. So the Orthodox are the only Jews that actually abide by the Torah. Fully. Believe it or not, and this is a well-known fact, it's not a secret or a conspiracy theory, and it's really sad that we as Muslims are unaware, number one. Number two, are not clamoring for the same rights they do, because they're already doing it. These Yahud have a Sharia court. It's not a Sharia court, they call it a Beit Din, the house of judgment, literally Beit Din, the house of judgment, which is what we call a Sharia court. They have Sharia courts in their synagogues. They have rabbis that are trained in the Torah to be judges, qadis, in these places. And every single Yahudi who wants, it has to be voluntary. Again, we're learning this from them. They cannot force it. Who wants to practice according to the Torah, they resolve their disputes at the Beit Din. They never step foot in a courthouse. They're doing it already. We as Muslims seem to be completely oblivious to this reality. It is something that the law allows, has no problem, and it can be done very easily. All we need is some lawyers and some constitutional experts and some fuqaha and ulama to get together, and it can be done in a very simple manner. I say we need to aim for that. That's one of the goals we need to have, is to establish the Sharia in our personal lives, not in a public setting. Now, the last issue we're going to come to is, what do we do in terms of our allegiance and loyalty to any constitution, not just necessarily this one, any constitution that openly professes that its ideology, its laws, its ethics will be based upon the will of the people and not the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The problem here comes to acknowledge the moral legitimacy of any other being or beings to enact laws. For us it is kufr and shirk. It is. I cannot say that you have the right to say this is halal and this is haram, this is allowed and this is not allowed. I cannot say that. It's Islam. In Islam, only Allah has the right to do tashri'. Allah is the musharri'. Allah is the one who gives the sharia. As Allah says, وَلَا تَقُولُ لِمَا تَصِفُ أَلْسِنَتُكُمُ الْكَذِبَ هَذَا حَلَالٌ وَهَذَا حَرَامٌ. Allah says, don't say with your tongues lies that this is halal and this is haram. You don't know. Only Allah has the right to tell you this is halal and this is haram.